The blizzard tore at the world like a beast, swallowing the mountain pass in white fury. Samuel Thorne hunched lower in his saddle, ice crusting his beard and eyebrows. His horse struggled forward, each step a battle against knee-deep snow and howling wind. Night was falling fast, the temperature dropping faster. "Just a bit further, girl," he muttered, the words stolen by the wind. Through the curtain of white, a yellow glow appeared, distant, wavering. Samuel squinted. The light solidified into windows, and the windows belonged to a building. A large one. The horse sensed it too, picking up her pace. As they drew closer, Samuel made out the shape of a saloon, 2 stories tall with a wide porch and hitching posts. No other buildings around it. Just this lone establishment in the middle of the mountain wilderness. Samuel didn't question the good fortune. Not with his fingers numb and his face burning from cold. He guided his mount to the covered area beside the building, dismounted stiffly, and removed her saddle. After rubbing her down and throwing a blanket over her, he grabbed his saddlebags and turned toward the saloon's entrance. The wind died suddenly as he stepped onto the porch. Warm light spilled from the windows. He could hear music inside, a piano playing something slow and melancholy. Samuel stamped his boots, knocked the worst of the snow from his clothes, and pushed open the door. Heat and light washed over him. A massive stone fireplace crackled with a healthy blaze at the far end of the room. Oil lamps glowed from brass fixtures. The bar ran nearly the entire length of one wall, polished mahogany gleaming under bottles of every description. Tables were arranged neatly around the room, each with a small candle burning at its center. A piano sat in the corner, its keys moving as if played by invisible hands. The music stopped. "Evening, stranger," came a voice from behind the bar. "Rough night to be traveling." Samuel turned to find a man in his 50s watching him. The bartender wore a crisp white shirt with sleeve garters, a dark vest, and a neatly trimmed mustache. He was polishing a glass with slow, methodical movements. "Didn't expect to find anything up here," Samuel said, crossing to the bar. "Thought I might freeze to death before morning." "The Wayward Rest has been serving travelers on this pass for 40 years, the bartender said with a slight smile. "I'm Eli. What can I get you?" "Whiskey. And whatever food you've got." Eli nodded and poured a generous measure into a clean glass. "Kitchen's still open. Jenny will bring something out shortly." Samuel looked around the empty saloon. Every table was set as if expecting guests. The fire was well tended. Lamps were lit throughout. But no patrons. "Not much business tonight," Samuel observed, taking a sip of whiskey. It burned pleasantly down his throat, warming him from the inside. "The storm keeps most folks away," Eli said, continuing to polish glasses. "You're the first traveler we've had in some time." As if on cue, a door behind the bar swung open, and a young woman emerged carrying a tray. She wore a simple dress with an apron, her dark hair pulled back in a practical bun. She set a plate before Samuel, roast beef, potatoes, and greens, all steaming hot. "Thank you kindly, Jenny," Eli said. The woman nodded but didn't speak. She disappeared back through the door. Samuel ate hungrily, the food better than anything he'd tasted in months of traveling. As he finished, he noticed a man had appeared at the piano. Thin and elderly with spectacles perched on his nose, the pianist's fingers moved over the keys with practiced ease, producing a gentle melody that filled the room. "That's Thomas," Eli said, following Samuel's gaze. "Been playing here since the beginning." Samuel nodded, feeling the day's exhaustion settling into his bones. "You got a room I could rent for the night?" "Of course. Second floor, first door on the right. Keys hanging by the stairs." Samuel finished his whiskey, paid for the meal and drink with coins from his pocket, and made his way to the stairs. The key hung from a hook on a board with several others, though none appeared to be missing. He took it and climbed the stairs, his legs heavy. The room was simple but comfortable, a bed with clean linens, a washstand with a pitcher of water, a small desk with an oil lamp already lit. Samuel set his saddlebags down and moved to the window. The blizzard continued to rage, the world outside nothing but swirling white. But here, inside, everything was warm and still. He washed his face and hands, stripped down to his union suit, and fell into bed. Sleep claimed him almost instantly. Morning brought no relief from the storm. Samuel woke to the same howling wind, the same white fury beyond his window. He dressed and made his way downstairs to find Eli already at the bar, polishing glasses just as he had been the night before. "Storm's not letting up," Samuel said, taking a seat. "No, sir. These mountain blizzards can last for days." Eli set a cup of coffee before him. "Breakfast will be ready shortly." Samuel warmed his hands on the mug. Strange place for a saloon, out here all alone. The pass used to be busier. Mining camps on both sides of the mountain. This was a good stopping point. Not anymore. I take it. Eli's smile didn't reach his eyes. Times change. But we're still here. Jenny appeared with a plate of eggs, bacon, and biscuits. Again, she said nothing, just set the food down and retreated to the kitchen. Thomas sat at the piano, playing something light and cheerful that contrasted with the storm's violence outside. Samuel spent the day in the saloon, with nowhere else to go. He read a dog-eared book he found on a shelf, played a few hands of solitaire with cards Eli provided, and watched the snow through the windows. No other travelers arrived. The staff went about their duties as if the place were full, Eli tending bar, Jenny emerging occasionally to wipe down tables, Thomas playing his piano. As evening approached, Samuel found himself studying the photographs that lined the walls. Faded sepia images showed the saloon in what must have been its heyday. Crowds of miners and travelers, women in fine dresses, men in suits and work clothes alike. One photo in particular caught his eye, a young woman standing on the porch, her face half turned toward the camera, a slight smile on her lips. Something about her seemed familiar. That was taken in '82, Eli said, suddenly beside him. Good year. Samuel stared at the woman's face. She reminds me of someone. Most faces do, if you've lived long enough. Eli moved back to the bar. Another whiskey? That night, Samuel dreamed of his wife. Clara had been dead 5 years now, consumption taking her slowly while he watched, helpless. In the dream, she was young again, dancing in a room that looked much like the saloon downstairs. She turned to him, laughing, her hand extended in invitation. He woke with tears on his face. The storm continued for a third day. Samuel grew restless, pacing the saloon floor, watching the endless snow. The sameness of it all began to wear on him. Eli always polishing glasses, Jenny wiping tables, Thomas at his piano. They moved in patterns, he realized. The same routines, over and over. How long have you all been here? He asked Eli that evening. A long time, the bartender replied. This place becomes home after a while. Don't you ever want to leave? Eli's hands stilled on the glass he was polishing. Some places hold on to you. You understand that, I think. Samuel did. Hadn't he been wandering for 5 years, unable to settle anywhere since Clara died? Always moving, always searching for something he couldn't name. Later that night, unable to sleep, Samuel came downstairs to find the saloon empty. The fire still burned, the lamps still glowed, but no sign of Eli or the others. He walked to the bar and noticed a leather-bound book lying open on the polished surface. A journal, its pages yellowed with age, filled with elegant handwriting. He began to read. March 15, 1882. The pass is finally clear. After 3 months of isolation, we had our first customers today. Eli says this will be our best year yet. I believe him. Despite everything, I believe him. Samuel turned the page. April 2nd, 1882. Thomas taught me a new song today. Says it reminds him of home. I wonder if any of us will ever see our homes again. This place becomes more real with each passing day. The outside world feels like a dream I once had. He continued reading, entranced by the writer's voice. The journal chronicled the daily life of the saloon through spring and summer, into fall. The entries grew shorter, more anxious as winter approached. November 10th, 1882. The first snow fell today. Eli says not to worry, but I see the fear in his eyes. If this winter is like the last. The final entry was dated December 18th, 1882. The blizzard has lasted 8 days. Supplies are running low. The last travelers left yesterday, fighting their way through the snow. Eli wants to try for the mining camp, but it's 20 miles in good weather. I told him we should stay, wait it out together. He says there's no choice. If he doesn't go, we'll all starve before spring. He leaves at first light. I pray for his safe return. The journal ended there. Samuel closed it slowly, a chill running down his spine that had nothing to do with the temperature. He looked up to find Eli watching him from across the bar. You found Clara's journal, the bartender said quietly. Samuel's heart lurched. Clara, my wife. Eli's eyes were sad. She kept the journal the whole time we were here. Your wife? Samuel repeated, his mouth dry. Clara was your wife. Eli nodded. I never made it to the mining camp. The storm was too strong. I tried to turn back, but... He gestured vaguely. By the time I found my way here again, it was too late. Samuel stared at the man, understanding dawning slow and terrible. You're dead. All of you. We're here, Eli corrected gently. This place holds us. Clara, Ginny, Thomas, me. We've been here since that winter. But I'm not, Samuel began. No, Eli agreed. You're not. Not yet. But you're close. Walking the edge. We can feel it in you. That same longing, that same pain. Samuel backed away from the bar. This isn't real. It's as real as anything, Eli said. Just different. Samuel turned and ran up the stairs to his room. He grabbed his saddlebags, threw on his coat, and hurried back down. The saloon was empty again. No Eli, no piano music, just the fire crackling and the wind howling outside. He rushed to the door and pulled it open. The blizzard hit him like a physical blow. Snow and ice stung his face, the wind nearly knocking him off his feet. He staggered to the covered area where his horse waited, surprisingly calm despite the storm. We're leaving, girl, he said, throwing the saddle on her back. His fingers, already numb with cold, fumbled with the straps. You won't make it. Samuel turned to find Clara standing in the doorway of the saloon. Not the Clara from his memories, but the woman from the photograph, young, beautiful, sad. The storm is too strong, she said. Come back inside. You're not real, Samuel insisted, though his voice shook. I'm not your Clara, she agreed. But I understand what it is to wait for someone who isn't coming back. Samuel's hands fell from the saddle. I've been looking for her. For 5 years, I've been looking. I know. Clara's voice was gentle. We recognize our own kind. The ones who can't let go. Samuel felt tears freezing on his cheeks. I don't know how. Come inside, she said again. It's warm there. He followed her back into the saloon. The others had reappeared, Eli behind the bar, Ginny wiping tables, Thomas at his piano. They nodded to him as if nothing had happened. What is this place? Samuel asked, sitting at the bar. Really? A waypoint, Eli said. A place between. For those who aren't ready to move on. And you've been here since 1882? Time works differently here. Eli poured him a whiskey. For us, it's always that winter. Always the night before I left to find help. We're caught in it. Why show yourselves to me? We don't, to most, Clara said, sitting beside him. Most travelers see an abandoned building, if they see anything at all. But some, the ones carrying grief like yours, they can see us. They can stay a while. Stay, Samuel repeated. For how long? That's up to you, Eli said. Some pass through. Some linger. Some never leave, Clara added softly. Samuel looked around at the warm saloon, so inviting, so peaceful compared to the years of aimless wandering behind him and the howling storm outside. If I stayed, he said slowly, would I see her again? My Clara. Eli and Clara exchanged glances. This isn't heaven, Samuel, Eli said gently. It's just a waypoint. Your Clara has moved on, I expect. This place is for those who can't. Samuel nodded, understanding. He wasn't being offered reunion, just rest. And into searching. He spent the night by the fire, listening to Thomas play, watching Clara and Ginny move about the saloon in their eternal routine. Eli told stories of the saloon's heyday, of travelers who had passed through, of the life they'd built here before the final winter. In the small hours of the morning, Samuel made his decision. He found Clara's journal where he'd left it on the bar. Taking a pen from his pocket, he opened to the first blank page after her final entry and began to write. December 18th, 1887. Clara, my love. If somehow you can read this, know that I looked for you. For 5 years, I searched. But I understand now that you're not lost. You're free. You've moved on to whatever comes next, while I've been trapped in the moment of losing you. It's time I moved on too. I love you. I always will. But I won't look for you in empty places anymore. Goodbye, my heart. Samuel. He closed the journal and set it back on the bar. The storm outside had begun to quiet, the first hints of dawn lightening the eastern sky. Samuel packed his few belongings and went downstairs one last time. Eli stood behind the bar, Clara beside him. Ginny paused in her cleaning. Thomas's hands hovered over the piano keys. The storm's breaking, Samuel said. Eli nodded. Yes, it does that, eventually. Thank you, Samuel told them. For the shelter. Will you stay? Clara asked, though her eyes suggested she already knew the answer. Samuel shook his head. I can't. There's nothing for me here. There's peace, Eli said. Peace comes from moving forward, not standing still, Samuel replied. I think that's what my Clara would say. He walked to the door and opened it. The snow had stopped falling. The world outside was transformed, pristine white under a brightening sky. His horse waited patiently under the shelter. Goodbye, he said, turning back one last time. But the saloon behind him had changed. The warm lights were gone, the fire extinguished. Dust covered the bar and tables. Sheets draped the furniture like shrouds. The photographs hung crooked on the walls, faded almost beyond recognition. Samuel stepped outside, closing the door of the abandoned saloon behind him. He mounted his horse and guided her onto the trail, now visible in the morning light. As they crested the pass, he looked back once. The wayward rest stood alone against the mountainside, its windows dark, its porch sagging. No smoke rose from its chimney. No light shone from within. Just an empty building, preserved by the dry mountain air and the memory of those who once found shelter there. Samuel turned away and continued down the trail, toward the valley below, toward whatever waited beyond the mountains. For the first time in 5 years, he rode without looking back, the weight of his grief finally beginning to lift from his shoulders. Behind him, as the sun broke fully over the horizon, a wisp of smoke curled from the saloon's chimney, visible for just a moment before disappearing into the clear winter sky.